Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional. Today, we're brought to you by Time to Pet and our friends at the Peaceful Pet Music, Calm Music for Pets YouTube channel. We are super excited to have the winner of the furthest travel to the Texas Pet Sitters Association conference, making it an international affair, Zara Willmott from Cat Sitters Toronto on the show to talk about her journey into pet care, how she runs a cat-specific business, and she connects with those particular clients. Zara, it's wonderful to get connected with you again after having met at the conference. For those who haven't been able to meet you or know about your business, could you please tell us a little bit more about who you are and all that you do?
Of course. Thanks, Colin, for having me on today. So obviously, the title of the company pretty much says it. We're Cat Sitter Toronto. It means we run a cat sitting company in Toronto, Ontario, and Canada. I became the owner of that company in 2020, just before the pandemic. I had worked for the company from 2018, and at the beginning of 2020, the previous owner and founder had approached me about purchasing part of the company as she was relocating provinces. And the pandemic just kind of sped up the process. And then I became a business owner and learned a lot about policies and procedures and health and safety and everything else you can imagine by becoming a business owner at the beginning of the pandemic.
But perfect time to do it. There's a lot more added to your plate there. But you said you had started with the company back in 2018. What was life like for Zara prior to 2018?
Prior to 2018, I actually worked for the school board, but I needed to take some time off to focus on my kids. My sons are both autistic, and they just needed a little bit more flexibility in mom's schedule to get to appointments and advocate for them and things like that. So then I started looking for a part-time job, came across this ad for a cat sitter and went, well, I could do that. I love cats. I could take care of cats. I could do that. Yeah. And then really fell in love with the company, the business model, and the way that the previous owner and founder created this amazing company. So
was it the cat care specifically, or what was it about it that you looked at and you went, that's for me?
The cat care, absolutely, is a big thing. I grew up on a farm. My very first pet that was mine alone was a cat. His name was Charlie. A gray kitty, barn kitty, but he was my cat. And in my first official pet that was Zara's specific and only Zara's pet. So,
well, and to have a niche like that, right? And I'm sure that it was kind of nice to be able to focus, right, back in 2018, going, it's cat only, it's cat specific, and I can really dive into this.
Absolutely. And having had experience with cats, I've been around for the birthing of cats. I've grew up on a farm, so I've seen it all with cats. Every kind of injury you could think of, I've encountered. But to then be in the city and have this job opportunity that really touched a part of me, having always owned cats as well. It was nice to see that somebody was looking out for the needs of pet owners out there, cat owners in specific.
Well, and with your two kids looking for that flexibility, that must have been really appealing as well. Have you been able to maintain that as your business has grown and as you took ownership of it?
I have. I've really lucked out because I've grown the team. When I inherited the company, I say inherited, but when I got the company in 2020, I had 10 staff. I now have 24. So with that, I have a team of 3, what I call team leaders. And so they are people who I can leave in charge so that I can still take time away from the business. I can still have my days off that I need. I can focus on the appointments I need to focus on. My children or for myself, and know that there's somebody who's got the right mindset in mind and who can support the younger staff, younger meaning not in the job as long. They can support them in the field if something should go wrong, a frozen lockbox or can't find the cats or can't get the keys from the concierge because they won't let us take them or whatever the case may be. There is somebody available to support those staff. So I'm really lucky with the team that I have.
Well, and that's really important too. Many of us start our business because we want that flexibility. It's very appealing to us of, oh, I can pick this and not this, and I need that in my life. And then as it grows, we look at this like homunculus of this, this beast before us, and we're like, no, I can't let this thing loose. I can't, I'm strapped to this 24/7. And it really can become very confining to us when we started off for something that we wanted flexibility with, and can kind of sometimes, and I've heard from a lot of people, can kind of resent that aspect of the business as it grows.
Yes, there is that work-life balance that comes into play, and that is really hard to maintain. And I think I learned rather fast because of the pandemic,
Um,
because at the beginning there wasn't a lot of work for anybody, but there was also a lot of policies. There was a lot of procedures. There was a lot of navigating how to safely go back to work when we're going into somebody else's home. What do the
right.
clients want? Are the clients comfortable with us unmasking in their homes? Do they want us masked? Do they want us sanitizing like crazy? What's the steps involved? So even though there wasn't a lot of visits to manage, there was a lot of policies and procedures to figure out in that first year. So
Yeah.
that was a lot to manage. And then the second year, when we started to pick back up, that's when I realized I really need to get this team leader thing in place. It is something that the previous owner had been toying with. So I had the idea of already how to get it into place. And then I
Mm.
kind of took off with it. So I could have a break.
Yeah. It is fascinating to see how the business ebbs and flows with like busy with visits and then busy with administrative stuff. I know for us, we'll kind of go through this period where it's like, I don't feel like we're doing any visits, but my goodness, why is there so much paperwork and emails and stuff? And then to take that moment to go, you know what? I'm really thankful that I'm not slammed with visits, because if I was, I wouldn't be able to look at this form, right, and read it appropriately, or or go through the policies
Exactly.
and stuff.
Or do the bookkeeping or do the scheduling, all the other things. So it's nice to have the ebbs and flows. And with being a cat specific company, we
Yeah.
absolutely have those ebbs and flows because we don't typically do daily visits unless it's a cat that's kind of recovering from a surgery and the client wants them to be visited. We do daily visits when people are on vacation, but not normally like a daily dog walk. So we have a lot more ebb and flow in the company, which is very helpful for those things.
Well, how do you manage that then? Because I know there are a lot of people, Zara, who get really frustrated with the really big highs and the really low lows, and feel like I can't live like this, or that I can't. How do I manage this or staff appropriately when I may have 3 visits today and then 40 tomorrow?
So that's why I have such a large team. I have a team of staff who are very aware that the schedule fluctuates
Mm,
and that it ebbs and flows. I have a lot of students, actually, a lot of college and high school, not high school, sorry, college and university students. And they enjoy the flexibility because it seems to match up with when they have their exams is kind of when we are slow.
mm.
And then when they don't have their exams and when they're out of school is when we're really busy. So that helps for sure with managing the schedule and the expectations. As long as the staff know what to expect, like you're not getting full time work because things fluctuate. We also aim to have a larger client base. That way we can always have visits on the schedule. We're not dealing with a small group of clients. We're close to 500 clients for the city so far,
Mm.
and that keeps us at a steady pace almost every day.
Yeah, there's those two different strategies. You're right, of how do I get some consistency? Either A, I need to have a service that is offered on a consistent basis where people could use that more regularly, or I need to take my more infrequent service and grow my client base so that it starts kind of just statistically filling the gaps and patches and those holes there. You're still going to
Absolutely.
have a variation during the around the holidays and around breaks and stuff, but you're hoping that it's going to fill everything in. And that's it's really just understanding what we how I guess how we want to operate, and what services we're offering, and how they're best going to fit.
Absolutely. And during the pandemic, we introduced litter care service
Oh,
as a
cool.
way to try because people weren't traveling. But if people felt comfortable having you come into their home, why wouldn't they have somebody come in and clean their litter boxes so they don't have to?
Okay. Well, how has that been working out for you?
So it's still very new. We have 3 clients who use us regularly. And so we go in every month to clean all of their litter boxes and refresh their litter area. They rave about it. They say it's the best service ever because really, who wants to clean the litter boxes once a month? It's a big job. And we did have a woman who was pregnant during the pandemic, and we went and cared for her litter boxes 3 times a week. We went in, scooped, cleaned so that she wouldn't have to run the risks of like toxoplasmosis and things like that.
Right. Well, again, that's a service of going, finding those pain points, and again, going, how do I find some baseline here? And for a lot of people who do pet sitting, they go, okay, well, let me do dog walking, or let me do poop scooping, or let me do, whatever that is, nail trims or some grooming aspect. And what we're trying to do is, again, find a higher baseline, elevate that up so that it's not quite so peak and valley through everything. But also having a large team like you have, you're able to make those adjustments on the fly, right? And so it sounds like you're also not, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Zara, but you're not guaranteeing hours and making sure everybody has a full plate. You're going, there may be nothing today, and then there'll be a lot tomorrow.
That's exactly it. I don't guarantee hours, but I let people know to expect that it will fluctuate, and they let me know their availability. So even around Christmas, I asked the staff, what are you available to work? How many visits do you want each day? And then I use that as my baseline for making sure we don't overbook and end up with too many visits on the schedule and not enough staff.
That's never fun.
No.
And it's a great conversation to have with staff of going, hey, your availability lets us know what we can take on, what we can say yes to, right? There may be some minimum expectations for stuff, but even then you may go, if you're not available, I can't give you any visits, which means I have to decline these clients. And being okay with that as the business owner is also an aspect of that, I'm sure, of going, well, okay, if I don't have anybody available for this day, I can't do anything that day.
It's giving yourself permission to say no. And I think as business owners, we all have a hard time. And because we're in a service industry, we want to help people. We want to provide solutions for their problems. We want to say yes. We want to say, absolutely, we can take care of your cat for the next 3 weeks. But what if I don't have the staff for 2 of those weeks? Then it runs the risk of not meeting our company standards. And I would much rather you find somebody else who can care for your cat with what they deserve than to go in and do it haphazardly and not to the standard that I would want my company represented.
Right. To go in there and rush through this just to do a checkbox, right? I think it's really tempting to just do bare minimum and do checkbox kind of work when what we do is not that, right? It's very much personalized, individualized. It's very attentive. It's way premium. And to think, well, if I can just squeeze in another one, I think that's a mentality that starts to get a bit dangerous when you think about the quality of the work.
Absolutely. And the pets that we're caring for, they are somebody's family member. And that's how we look at it. Like, we're going in to care for your family. And I wouldn't want anybody coming in to care for my family and not doing their 100%. So I wouldn't ask that of my staff to go in and be like, oh yeah, just go in and do 10%, because then it's one more visit on the schedule. We don't need one more visit on the schedule if it's not going to do well for that cat. And I think there's a bit of a misconception too with cat visits, that people feel that they can do a cat visit in under 10 minutes and move on, because maybe cats don't need socialization, but they 100% do. It's just not the same way that a dog would approach socialization. The cats are very independent, but they are very human oriented. They don't meow to each other in the world. They meow to us. They have created a language for humans. They don't talk to each other that way.
Which you're right. It's very important to remember. This is, especially for the cat-centric care, of going, okay, what are the requirements here? What is required of me to be in here? And also recognizing that spending extra time in that visit, going, okay, well, I've got everything done in 10 minutes. I guess I will leave. Well, some quiet time sitting there, playing some calming music or watching YouTube, cat YouTube on your phone and playing that, that you're helping get that cat accustomed to you being there. Right. So maybe you can start working on them where they're going to be a bit more present at the next visit, as you build that trust. And if we're so focused on just getting through today and getting this done, we stop thinking about those long-term relationships that we're building and that trust that we're building with that pet.
That's 100% true. I say when we go in to do a visit, I always say get the chores done first, because the chores, they don't take that long. Once you have a routine done in a home, you can be done in 5-10 minutes. You've got the cat fed, you've got the litter scooped, you're cleaning up. And then after that, engage the cat in how they want. It's not about what we want. We want to cuddle with the cat, but they might not want to cuddle with us. So you got to think about what the cat wants. If their body language is telling you that they want to sit across the room and stare at you because they're not 100% comfortable with you, that's okay. Sit down at their level and be there and talk softly to them and build that relationship, because you got to think about what this cat is going through as well. If they aren't a shy cat or an easily anxious cat, their human isn't home. They're not seeing their human. We are the human that they're seeing. So they need to build a bond with us. And they're not going to do that if we're approaching it the way we want. They have to approach it on the cat's terms.
Right. And forcing ourselves into that situation, right? I just finished doing, a big dog walk, and I was in this multi-pet household. I come in all stinky and gross, and I'm like, no, love me, cat. They're like, how about no? How about I don't know who I'm going to go sit over here. Instead of getting hurt and offended by that, going, I've got to slow down. And too often, I love how you said how you break that up of like chores first, then engage. Because too often we can get the mindset of the chores are the visit. Right? The chores are the point of the visit. And that is where we start shortchanging our clients, and it kind of cheapens our service of what we can actually provide and the quality that we bring to everything. Thinking top of mind of chores are actually, I can bust through those so that I have all of this time to do what I'm actually here for.
Exactly. When people are paying the premium prices that they are for a pet sitter to come in, they want you there for a reason. And the reason is not to feed their cat, because there's automatic feeders. There's automatic litter boxes. There's automatic water fountains. We're there for the cat, not for the chores. And that's the way I tell my staff to approach it.
Well, so how are you finding, or what do you look for in a good cat sitter for your team?
Well, that's such a good question. So first and foremost, you have to love cats. I don't require that my staff own pets, because not everybody has the opportunity to have a pet. They may be in a living situation where they're sharing with somebody with allergies. I've had staff in the past who came to work for me because they had lost their pet, and they found that this was a good way to open their heart to a pet when they weren't ready to bring a new one into their home. So I'm always looking for people who love animals, but also have a passion for providing service. Because again, this is a very service-based industry. We're here to help solve solutions for clients. So I'm always looking for staff who have that same passion to, help others, because really that's what we're doing. And then obviously somebody who has a flexible schedule is really handy to put in the schedule. But first and foremost, I look for the compassion and the kind-hearted people who love animals.
Because you can train the skills later, right? That's an important aspect of that, of going, but I have to grow from the passion. The only way I know this person in front of me is going to do that hard work, is going to listen and learn, is if there's a passion and a compassion for that pet in person. Because otherwise I can talk till I'm blue in the face, and this person's just going to shrug me off because they're just wanted a job or a skilled job, and they think they know everything. When really it's like, let's take your passion, let's grow it into something more than that.
Exactly. I have a multi-step application process so that I weed out the people who are looking for a fluff job, looking for a gig job, because that's not who I'm looking for. I am looking for somebody who truly wants to help cat owners, and truly wants to just have more cats in their life. Because really, all of these client cats become our cats, and we love them almost as much as their humans do. And so making sure we have somebody who fits that mold is really important.
It is, and really listening to when that person's talking, right? Of going like, what is this person actually saying when I'm asking them these questions? And because I've found we've had some people who, they've worked at like, we have these things called edible arrangements. They're the companies that, make fruit baskets and stuff together. We had a lady who applied, and she had said, I love getting to make people's days special when I get to make a really good fruit basket. And I was like, okay, this person understands taking a simple act, doing it really, really well to make somebody's day better. Like, okay, that's cool. I like that connection that they were able to make that with that work. Now let's see if they can make that connection in our line of work and build from there. Have you heard of Time to Pet? Dan from NYC Pooch has this to say.
Time to Bet has been a total game changer for us. It's helped us streamline many aspects of our operation, from scheduling and communication to billing and customer management. We actually tested other pet sitting softwares in the past, but these other solutions were clunky and riddled with problems. Everything in Time to Pet has been so well thought out. It's intuitive, feature-rich, and it's always improving.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I provide all kinds of training. I provide training, first aid training, and body language training, all that wonderful stuff. Before they even go and do a solo visit, they've got all that training under their belt. But if they don't have passion and they don't have love for animals in their life, I can't teach that. And it's not going to carry through. I have had people who apply for the job and say, oh, I don't have any cat sitting experience, so I don't know what to answer for this question. And I'll say, okay, but what did you do at your other jobs? Because a lot of skills that you have at another job can be transferred into the service industry that we are. We're all service industry. So if you've had, for instance, I have an ECE background. So I have that's early childhood education. So I take a lot of pride in providing care for anybody in my life, whether it's my kids or my cats or my lizards. Yeah. So if I had somebody who had ECE on their resume, I would totally look into them further, because I would know that they already have that caring instinct, because they're willing to take care of people's kids. And for a lot of people, their cats are their kids.
Right. And that's something that we can't train. Like, I can't put together a course curriculum to make somebody care. Like, that's really frustrating. I don't know if Sarah, if you ever get frustrated by that, when you're like, why doesn't this person care? And it's like, because they don't. There's nothing I can do. There's no motivation that I can give this person to make them care about this aspect. And for people who run and operate a business, who got in this industry for our passion, for our drive to serve people well, when we don't see that, it can be kind of confusing as to what's going on. Like, why, how could you not? This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it's so true. Or when you see a bad review from another pet company or another pet sitter, and you think, how could you do that? How could you let them down in such a way that they left this such a bad review? I don't understand how you could do that. These are living animals that are in our care, so you have to care 100%. And if any of my staff ever showed me that they didn't care, we'd definitely be having conversations and trying to figure out why they didn't care. Sometimes stuff's happening in our life and we need to step back from work, and I get that. And so having that conversation with somebody who might not be fitting in the mold is important too, to know how you can support them to become the best sitter that they can be.
Right. And that takes being in tune with your team. And I know as your team grows larger, that's harder to do, to be able to see those little things and catch that early. So what kind of things do you have in place, or how are you working with your team leads to make sure that everybody is working at that level?
So we do staff check-ins twice a year, and that's really just to check in to see what's going on in your life, in your, has your schedule changed? Have you picked up another job? Are you still in school? So that we can support them. Sometimes things come up in there, like right now it's exam time and I'm really stressed. Okay, so do you need a lighter workload? Let us know those things. I have an open door policy. I say no question is a silly question, because when anxiety hits or panic hits and you're in a visit, you need to have somebody who is going to calm you down. And that's where our team leads come into play. So we tell our staff, you could reach out and be, I can't find the lockbox. I'm so frustrated. And then we'll just kind of help you calm down. And then you find the lockbox. It's all okay, right? Yeah. It's all about supporting and having an open conversation, even though pet sitting is a very solo job. Not all 24 of us are going into the same house to take care of the cat. I think that'd be overwhelming for the cat. Right? So we're not seeing our coworkers on a daily basis, but we are communicating on a daily basis. I use Slack. I don't know if you know of that app, but we use that as a way to communicate with staff. And we have different channels in there. We share awesome photos. We share comics, fun stories that happen during visits. If anybody's having a problem with a certain cat, we start a group chat of all the sitters who've been in there so that we can problem solve the behavior of the cat. Sometimes cats just don't like one of us. but they love everybody else. There's a couple cats who hiss at me when I go in, but everybody else can have them purring on their lap. So I say, well, they just don't want me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll save me for the backup when nobody else can make it in.
Yeah, I still get hurt, let's be honest, but it's fine. I recognize it. No, you go, I'll be over here at the corner.
I don't take it personal.
Yeah. But having something like Slack really helps get people integrated into it. And that's that aspect of going, what are people contributing? How are they contributing? Again, not everybody's the same. You know, we have some big social butterflies in our Slack channels where it's like, Godspeed, you go forth. And some people are a bit quieter because that's just how they are. So not taking these as positive or negative signals, but you're just monitoring like, what is this person doing? How does this person want to be engaged? How do they want to engage with others? And knowing that the support there is so critical in that there's an institutional knowledge from other people that helps people see, oh, this is a lot bigger than myself, right? There's a lot of support here and I don't have to know everything. And it can be really comforting for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Knowing that you're not alone, even though you're in the house alone. And I employ a lot of women. This is a women-centric field, as we know.
Yeah.
And we're doing visits late at night. And if somebody's feeling unsafe, they're feeling insecure about the street that they're walking on, they can reach out to somebody and somebody can be on the phone with them until they get into a home, just to make sure that they feel safe, that they feel supported in their job. That's my goal. And recently I started a monthly thing that I've labeled Pause and Percolate. It's coffee with the boss. I pick a local coffee shop and I just say, come and like dish work stress, life stress, just to sit around and talk with your coworkers. So we do that once a month now, and it's been pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, just providing that platform and that opportunity, I think what's really important is going, okay, nobody may show up, and that's fine with me. At least there's an option for them. And the more options we can provide our teams for ways to engage, right, the better, because then we're meeting people's needs. Because we've had people on the team who are like, I love being on the team. I really not interested in engaging much of anything. I've got my own life. I'm going to do my own thing, but they do reach out for help. So it's okay, I understand. Other people want to be those social butterflies, want to show up to everything, want to do everything that they can, and going, okay, I can, as the business owner, try and bring people together in different situations so that they feel as supported as they can be.
Absolutely. And twice a year, I do a staff event. So we've done knife throwing, archery, we've made ceramics, and then I do a barbecue in my backyard so that it's whatever people are socially comfortable doing, they can come. In my backyard, we always have fun because I create a game where we have to do like the litter Olympics, and we scoop through a litter box to find a key to then put in a lockbox. All the wonderful things that we love about our job. Yeah. All in the same thing to try and see who can do it the fastest. It's loads of fun.
That's great. I love for a second there where you're like knife throwing and archery. It's like, what are you preparing for? Oh my goodness, this is a really intensive team you have coming on here, Sarah. Wow.
Yeah, us Toronto people, we're kind of crazy now.
Built different. Okay. Well, so you took over the business, you inherited the business, as you say, back in 2020. What was that process like, going from working as a sitter in it to being approached and then kind of assuming the role of business owner?
So I had a bit of experience with office management for the company about 6 months or so before I took over. So the staff had already kind of seen me as a authority figure, let's say. And so had the clients, because I had been communicating to the clients about their invoices and such. So there was an easy transition when it came to me taking over. The previous owner sent out a message and said, Zara's going to be taking over and you guys all know her. So it made it much easier than I think if I was coming in as a brand new person that nobody knew. The staff were given the opportunity to stay on or not, and they all chose to stay on, which I was really thankful for. So yeah, that was kind of the process. It was very quick. It was supposed to be a slower process and kind of like get my feet wet and learn more about the bookkeeping and all the wonderful paperwork that goes into owning a business. But the pandemic kind of sped things up.
Well, why did you take that opportunity to take over the business?
Well, when I was approached with the opportunity, the first thing that popped into my head, and I know it's going to make you laugh, was I can't lose this job. It's amazing. So then, of course, I have to buy this business because what's going to happen if I don't?
Yeah.
That was my job. My thought process was I just love the job so much that I wanted to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I thought that way and went that way, because this company has definitely done wonders for my family and wonders for me, and still fits into my hectic life with my children. So it's working for me.
Well, yeah, when you have something, you have an opportunity like that, being able to see, I don't know, it sounds like you were pretty much able to immediately see yourself in that role doing these things. And that really helps whenever you can go, right, that's what I see so much here. I can do all this work. There's a lot of opportunity here, and diving right in, even though it is scary and terrifying a lot of times, it's still going, there's an opportunity that I don't want to miss.
Exactly. I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. I felt an obligation to the clients to continue to provide care for them. Mm-hmm. So I think that really helped too, to kind of put me in the right mindset, that right away I was concerned with making sure that the clients knew what was going on, that the staff knew what was going on, and that everybody felt comfortable with the situation. Everybody had the opportunity to go find other care if they weren't comfortable. But on a side note of that, to toot my own horn, I did have an old client. They're no longer a client of ours now, but they reached out to the previous owner to tell them what a great job I was doing and that she had handed the company off to the right person. So that always made me feel really good, that kind of feedback. Because, I took somebody's baby that they had invested their life into for so many years. I believe it was 5 years that she owned it before I took over. So I took over her baby, and now I'm like, making sure that this baby's growing up to be a teenager. So I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job for her, because she put so much into it as well. And then also doing a good job for me, because now it's my baby too. So
yeah, there is that responsibility, that weightiness too, of especially having worked so closely with the previous owner and knowing everything that went into it and kind of what they were wanting out of the business and their own goals, and you going, okay, I have to honor that and be respectful to that, of how it got to this point. And then now that I am the owner, I can do my own thing with respect to what has already come before me and recognize all the work that's already been put in.
Oh, absolutely. She put so much work into it that I'm so grateful for, because it showed the direction that I want to take it in. And there's a lot of legwork that was already done to make it easy for me to do that. Yeah. I'm really grateful to her for that, and for this opportunity to own this company.
So what really was it?
Thankful.
How did you start making some of those initial changes? Because again, change is really hard. And I know that every time we kind of very humbly approach existing clients or staff about a possible, maybe, I don't know, we're still thinking about it, change, who knows? There's, you can see people start to, their eyes twitch and you're like, never mind.
I think honestly, the pandemic helped with that, because there was so many changes that happened right away. At first, we weren't able to do any visits unless they were absolutely necessary, because everything was locked down. We changed our schedules to be 15-minute drop-in visits. So staff would be in your home for the least amount of time possible to make sure that the basics were done. Food, water, litter, and hi, kitty, how are you? And on your way. Right? And then slowly move from that based on what the government was saying at the time. And like every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something changed, and there was a new policy that I was reissuing to the clients and the staff and retraining people on how to do it. We still have clients now who want us to wear masks and gloves in their home, and we totally respect that. And that's just become part of our day-to-day. So I think that first year, clients just got used to a lot of things changing from the pandemic. So when I actually started changing things, and we changed from being a primary, secondary sitter to being a team approach. And that happened during the pandemic because everybody got sick. So when somebody was sick, I wasn't sending them into your home. That meant I had to send somebody else who you may have not met, somebody else who may have not met your cat before, because your primary and secondary might have both been sick at the same time. And so then we changed from holding keys to you have to have a lockbox, or we pick them up from a concierge. That way, no matter who needed to get in, it wasn't exposing a staff member to COVID by picking up keys from somebody who was sick with COVID.
Right.
I wasn't exposing your home to COVID because I wasn't sending anybody in who was exhibiting any symptoms. So I think it just naturally came from the pandemic, but then a lot of the things we did, they made sense. And so we've stuck with them. Like we've stuck with the team approach. We do still try to limit how many people we're sending into homes.
Right.
But this way it's opened up our schedule much more than it was before. And it's allowed us to easily cover visits without stressing out the client and having to say, oh, we're trying to find somebody to cover your visit. It's just, oh, Heather's coming in today instead of Rhonda. And and the client goes, okay, thanks for letting me know. And it's just an easier transition for everybody. And then, like I said, we do try to keep it to a minimum for the cat's sake. But this way, we're not stressing about who can cover.
Right. From your perspective, I know like that just creates like just breathe a huge sigh of relief, because now I don't have to go to the primary and go, are you taking any vacation during this day? Are you busy in this week? So, we have clients who they'll travel for 3-4 weeks at a time and try to go like, oh, one person, like they've got birthdays, they want to take their own trips and do their own stuff. And having that team approach allows you to just go, absolutely, we got you covered. Like we as a team have you covered. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. And, it's good socialization. So if you've got a shy cat, we'll start off with 2, maybe 3 sitters. And then eventually maybe they've got 4 sitters going in there. But it's good for the cat because they're being socialized with more people. And the more people that they trust, then they are a more trusting cat and a less anxious cat. Nobody wants an anxious cat. It's not good for them. So
no.
We're trying to give all the positives from our team approach.
Well, and that's really what it is anytime you make those changes, we have got to focus on the positives to the client and not what it means for us, right? Like every time we've made a change, it's, like we switched over to lock boxes, gosh, a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years at this point. And, I just wanted to be like, look, now we don't have to store them. I'm not up at night worrying about losing your keys and, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, right, I've got to rewrite this email all about the client and why they care about this, right? And we do have to take that time to go, I'm making a change. It makes my life easier. Absolutely. But I can't use that as my only justification. It has to impact the client, or I need to find a way that it impacts the client in some way.
Absolutely. I had a client, we switched to lock boxes too. And when we did, I explained to them that, when you have the lockbox, you have control of your key. You have control over who has access. Yeah. So if you want your neighbor to come over and check on your mail or water your plants or whatever the case may be, they also have access to a key. And he was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. What a great idea. And yes, this is going to be perfect. And he was just so happy with the idea that we were switching to lock boxes because I had taken the time to explain how it benefited him.
Yep.
And I think that's important. With any change that you make, yes, you're right. You have to point out to the client how it's benefiting them. Another big change we had to make is we had to increase prices because minimum wage has gone up. I'm sure it's going up for you guys too, but here in Ontario, we're almost at $17 an hour for minimum wage. So when that came in, I had to increase prices, but I explained to the staff to the clients. I explained to the staff too what was going on, but to the clients, I had to explain to them that in order for me to continue to attract the kind of staff that they want in their home, I had to pay a higher rate because we don't want to just be paying people minimum wage to come in and care for your pet. We're not going to get the quality of staff that we want.
Yeah.
So that seemed to help win over some people on the price increase. Some people still had a problem with it, and I totally respect that. Everybody's budget is their budget, but you have to understand as a business, when you have staff, there's a whole lot more that goes into pricing, and I took the time to explain that.
It can be frustrating, again, because we have our heads so down in the weeds over what we do, and we live, breathe, eat, sleep this, that when somebody has a question, I know sometimes my knee-jerk reaction is like, well, don't you just understand? Like, can't you just see? And it's like, no, they haven't obsessively thought about this for the past 5 months, right? They haven't been kept awake at night worried about this change for the last 2 months. Breathe and have an explanation and be able to walk them through that. And at the end of it, like you talked about, Zara, I was like, some people are not going to be okay. They're not going to be fine with that change. That's okay. They've got to make that decision for themselves.
Absolutely. And it's okay. And we're not the right fit for everybody. And I think as pet sitters, we all know that some staff do better with a solo sitter, or some clients do better with a solo sitter. And some staff would be better as a solo sitter than they would be as an employee. And that's okay. We all are who we are, and we all have our own needs. So understanding that not everybody's going to fit my mold of the perfect client, and I'm not going to fit their mold of the perfect sitter, and that's okay. But being able to have that open conversation and say, we're not the right fit for you, or you're not the right fit for us, is perfectly allowed. And I think it should be encouraged more in our profession, so that clients know what they're getting and sitters know what they're getting as well. Like, that relationship needs to be an open street on both sides.
It is so hard whenever it takes us looking at our business, thinking about ourselves, going, who am I for, right? Who am I supposed to serve? And I think too often when we try and answer that question, we can say things like, oh, I'm for anybody with a cat, right? Or I'm for all pet owners. And it's like, are you really for everybody? Really think that through. Really think through what those implications are, because then we don't feel so bad whenever somebody doesn't match up with who we're for. And it allows us to stand stronger in our boundaries when we've clearly defined that line already. But when that line is kind of faded, or maybe we haven't drawn it, then how do we know who we're going to say no to? And then we find ourselves in that cycle of continuing to say yes to that people that we don't, or we should not be saying yes to. A lot of pet owners don't know how to react when their beloved pet is facing a bout of anxiety, noise sensitivity, or depression. However, various studies have shown that animals react very positively when calming music is played for them. As a trusted pet sitter, have your clients check out the Peaceful Pet Music, Calm Music for Pets on YouTube, where they can give their pet the best chance for relaxing while they're away. From peaceful melodies to soothing nature sounds, this YouTube channel is the go-to spot when your client's pet is anxious and you don't know where to turn. Complete with beautiful and vibrant animations, their videos will become your home for the tools needed to keep the client's pet in a state of peacefulness. Be sure to subscribe to the Peaceful Pet Music, Calm Music for Pets on YouTube and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of calm.
It's setting boundaries, and it's giving permission to say no. I think a lot of us get into this business and then it's yes, yes, yes. You start off, yes, 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 want clients. Oh, once the pandemic let up and people are traveling, yes, we'll take your cat on. Yes, 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 yes. And then 6 months later, you're like, I really shouldn't have taken that client on because they're outside of our service area. Or I shouldn't have taken that cat in because that cat is really aggressive and would do better with a solo sitter.
Yeah.
There's all these things you think about after the fact. So giving yourself permission to say yes and permission to say no is absolutely okay. And it's something we should be doing more of, because then the clients know too. It does the clients no good if we go in to see an aggressive cat, for example, and we go in and we're seeing this aggressive cat, and then 6 months later we have to say, oh, sorry, we can't take care of your cat anymore because they're aggressive. And now the cat has to bond with somebody else completely because they would do better with a solo sitter.
Yeah.
That conversation should have happened at the beginning so that the cat and the client have the opportunity to find who's right for them from the get-go.
Right. Yep. And knowing that they have a choice and we have a choice. I always try and impress that upon potential clients who call us and they're like, oh, when can we do the new client meeting and consultation? My meeting, I'm not traveling until 4 months from now. Can we wait till then? Oh, no. We need to do this as soon as possible so that everybody is okay with the decision to move forward. And if it's not, you still have time to find some support, because if we wait too long and we're not a good fit, you're really going to be put in a bind, and we are going to probably feel pressure to say yes when we really need to say no.
Exactly. So making sure that exactly what you said, that the timing is right. We used to take new client requests up to 4 days in advance. Now we do 2 weeks because 4 days was just too fast. And then we were encountering people who we probably shouldn't have been providing services for, but we had to say yes because we felt obligated to at that point, because we'd gone through all those steps with the new client to get to that meet and greet. And then you're like, oh, this is kind of a sketchy neighborhood. Maybe we shouldn't have said yes because the staff aren't going to feel comfortable visiting here.
Yeah.
But now we're already they're leaving the next day to travel. So you kind of have to, if you feel obligated to. I would feel obligated to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's making sure that the policies and procedures you have in place match up what you want. If you just want to take everybody, by all means, have that meet and greet the day before if you're willing to take on everybody. But if not, setting up that time frame. So yes, if you're traveling in December, I still want to meet you in April.
Yeah.
To make sure.
Yeah. No, it really helps. And I love that of like, no, because, a lot of times we'll say, oh, well, I don't have enough time to go through my processes to take you on. So it's not a good fit. But just having that rule of like, no, minimum of 2 weeks. So that's for us and it's for your protection. Best of luck. Maybe next time, if you travel again, reach out to us beforehand so that we can set this thing up, because it's about making sure that we are connecting with those right clients. And so, how are you connecting with your potential clients who are good fits for your company?
Well, right now, a lot of the times we get contacted are people who found us on Google. The name of the company makes it really easy. If you search for a cat sitter in Toronto,
I love it.
We kind of pop up right at the top because the name is Cat Sitter Toronto. So we do get a lot of people through Google. We have a referral program. So we have clients who can refer their friends to us. And so we get some clients that way. And we get through social media. Instagram seems to be where we're the most popular.
I did see your referral program and I want to know more about that.
So when a new client comes in, they fill out the intake form. They can put on there who referred them to us. If they are an existing client, then that client would get their account flagged. And once the visits with the new client are done, they get a 10% discount on their next booking. It doesn't have to be the next booking. The client can reach out and say, could I use it on my Christmas booking? And they absolutely can. They just can't combine. So if they have like 3 friends coming in at the same time, they can't combine and get 30% off. They have to use 10% on each booking. But it's a great way to encourage word of mouth. And I think that's a great way to get new clients, because you have people who already know how you operate, who clearly like the service that they're getting, and then they're telling their friends and family how much they love you. Then you're going to get the right kind of people, right kind of clients.
Well, and I like how you had that little carve out there of once that booking's done, then that's when they get, because what we may be thinking of like, oh, I'll just have a referral program and they can just fill out who they heard from and I'll just give them that discount immediately. No, they have to go through the whole process.
They have to become new clients. So, we could get to the point where we find out that their cat would do better with a solo sitter and they're no longer going to be a client of ours. So that whoever referred them isn't going to get the 10% for that. I would still thank them for referring us, of course, because you still want to thank people for when they do something nice like that. But I wouldn't offer them the 10% discount unless we get a new client out of the referral. We also have a referral program for staff. So if staff know of somebody who would make a good cat sitter, they can refer them and then they get a bonus if the person stays past 3 months.
Well, so how are those programs working for you? It sounds like you're pretty healthy.
They are pretty healthy. The staff referral one is still hit and miss. I don't think my staff know enough about it. That's probably my fault. But the client referral one, it's definitely, we're seeing a lot more client names on there instead of just finding us through Google.
Yeah, we have a staff referral program as well, and it's kind of weird. I don't know. I find it weird to communicate to them of like, have a friend, and then you'll get some money, and they'll also get some money after this, but they have to stay, and like it, can feel kind of like I'm not saying that your person who you refer is a bad person or like this other stuff, but I'm also saying that they're not a good fit sometimes. So like having just an open conversation, again, making sure that everybody understands it's not just about them filling out an application. They actually do have to become hired and make it past that 3-month mark and be part of the team.
Exactly. Once they become part of the team, then it's like, thank you for finding this person and making them be part of our team, because our team is now complete with them in it. That's the kind of referral program I want to have. It's not just, I'm just handing out money because your friend is filling out an application. No, I want it to be that this person that you've referred, you're 110% sure that they are going to jump through all of my interviewing hoops and make it to be a staff member.
Right. Yeah, it does take, and it kind of does make that person pause and go, okay, I can't just throw people at this. I really need to think about the kind of people. Plus, it's a teammate perspective too of do I really want this person also doing visits if I have to come and help them, or like what's their work ethic? And you hope that all that kind of works its way out through the system.
I've had two very successful staff referrals.
Yeah.
And what's funny about both of them is that they've worked with in their other job. So they work together now as cat sitters, and they work together at their day job, we'll say.
Yeah.
As well. So it's clear that they like this person. They're a good teammate because they are okay with working with them pretty much 24/7.
Right. You see people all the time. Right. Or at least you're helping.
It really has to be somebody you like if you're going to work with them all the time.
Yeah. And that helps improve company culture and helps improve people's engagement and kind of commitment level too to the work and to the company.
Absolutely. Like, if you think about it, if your friend puts you up for a job, you're more inclined to put 110% effort in from the get-go because you don't want to let down your friend. So even if it turns out that you're not okay with the job, you're still going to do it to the best of your ability until you make that decision to say, no, I don't really feel like this is the right job for me, because you don't want to let your friend down. So it's not like you're going to fluff off on the interview and, not show up for the interview, because that happens sometimes too, where people just don't show up for interviews. But, you're not going to do those things if your friend has referred you, because it's going to make them look bad to their boss.
Right. And then they also have to talk to their friend after the fact of why didn't you do this and show up? So it's a little bit of good social pressure there to make it actually
happen. It's a good amount of social pressure, but it has turned out really well for the few staff who have referred and worked together outside of working for me as well. So.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder of as we look to try and tackle, the staffing problems that plague businesses in the modern time right now, of how do we do this? What does it actually mean going, okay, if we have referral programs for our clients because we want the clients that we like to refer other people who are hopefully kind of like them in their circles, so that we'll continue this propagation of people that we like, working with. Same thing too with our staff, and going, they know what this job takes, really intimately well. They also have friend circles who they'll be able to make a quick judge of character and knowledge of whether this person is capable of that level of work. So in some cases, it's also kind of pre-vetting that person in that application to some extent, that we know, okay, these people have probably talked a lot, right? They know what this other person does very well. So they're already kind of like one or two steps into that process already when you get that kind of referral.
Absolutely. They've already kind of understand the job. When they come to the interview, anybody who's been referred and they come to the interview, I'll be like, so tell me about yourself. And they'll go on, and then they'll be like, and so said this about the job. And I'm so excited that I might get to meet these cats. And so you kind of skip in steps in the interview, which in a way is great too, because it does show their character right off the get-go.
Zara, as I prepared for this interview and talking with you, one of the things that I saw right off the bat on your website, dead smack dab in the center of it, was this phrase, caring for cats isn't what we do, it's who we are. And I love that phrase, and I wanted you to tell us more about that and kind of how that works its way out in what you do.
So being cat specific, it means we know a lot more about cat behavior. So it's not just about, we're not going in and just caring the cats and to put their food, their litter and water and make sure, they haven't thrown up around the house. It's more about their social aspect. It's about their behavior. It's about understanding and bonding with this living creature. And cats are just so great to do that with, because my daughter says it best. She says that cats are very much like humans. They have a lot of different personalities and they set boundaries, where dogs are more like, love me, love me, love me, I love you, as soon as you walk in the house. That's her perspective on it. So I like that, though, because it does say that we have to care for the whole cat, and not just their physical needs, but also their emotional needs, their behavioral needs. And to do that fully, you have to look at it more than just a job. It has to be part of, like we said earlier, you have to have a passion. You have to want to care for these animals in order to do it to the level that we would like. And honestly, and I said it too near the beginning, all of our clients' cats become our cats. They become a part of us as well because we care for them. We have regulars who you see once a month when they travel. Those cats, even if I haven't personally visited with them, they're still a part of like my caring. My heart has that little spot for that cat. And that's kind of how all my staff are. And I think that feeds to the company culture. We are very much in it for more than just a paycheck at the end of the day. We are in it because we love cats and we want to see what's best for them.
You know, one thought that I know people have about specializing in something is they can get better at it. And I think it's really important to know that it's not just getting better at this point of something where you can do it really fast, right? Like as you were talking, I was like, yeah, right. They're not just world record litter scoopers, right? You don't just have we got the fastest litter scooper team in the north. Like that's not the pitch there, is it? It's right. It's we are a team of passionate people that sure we can expertly scoop a litter box, but that's not what it's about. It's about the relationship there and keeping that first and foremost of if we choose to specialize in something, not losing sight of the bigger picture of what we're doing and not getting so focused on I can really do this skill really well, or I can do this really fast, or I got this down. It's because then we've really lost sight of why we're in it in the first place.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that the cat's well-being is first and foremost. It's not about being the fastest litter scoopers. And I love that. I might actually incorporate that into our next staff barbecue. We're the fastest litter scoopers and have cowboy hats on or something, really make it fun. But as I was saying though, with cats, it's about caring for their whole well-being, whether that's socially, emotionally, behaviorally. We have clients who reach out to us and ask our opinion on things. We have clients who reach out to us when they have to make the tough decision to rehome their cat and they want to make sure that they're going to a reputable place. So it's about knowing what the clients and the cat, because the cats are our clients too. It's about knowing what they need, what they expect, and knowing when something might be off. Oftentimes, when a cat starts losing weight, their owners might not notice it because it'll be such a gradual dip. But if we don't see them every day and we go in and see them once a month, we might notice it. So bringing that to the client's attention, it's helping them make sure that their cat is getting what they need in that moment in time.
Yeah, that whole cat care, right? It's not just those tasks, and really keeping in mind too of I have a obligation to the client, the human client, to report, to talk, to be honest with them when we have concerns, when we have frustrations, when things don't go right, and that's the cruddy part of our job, is that things don't go right all the time. I don't know if you've experienced that, Zara, but sometimes things don't go as we wanted to, and we've got to talk to the client about that, or we see something that is concerning and we have to bring that up. And what's been really helpful for me is to understand, like, the client is, yes, they're paying us to care for their pet while they're away. They're also, in some aspect, paying us to be honest with them and bring problems and bring things to their attention. That's a service that we provide to them, of being honest when things aren't going the way that they should. Because a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just go, well, not my problem. I'm fine. I'll show up tomorrow and collect my paycheck. Instead going, no, I'm here and I have a responsibility to make sure that that everything is laid out on the table.
Absolutely. And we might pick up on a behavioral cue that the client might not have noticed. And then it leads to some discovery that could help the cat's health. It is important to share everything that we see in a visit and not just go in and be like, okay, so-and-so missed the litter box again today. I guess I'm going to clean it up, but not say to the client, oh, they're going in this area. Would you like me to move the litter box there to see if that stops them from going outside the litter box? Would you like me to put down some puppy pads? Would you, is this an ongoing problem? Have they just started doing this? Because sometimes it takes somebody else's perspective to show something that's going on with your pet. And it's not that the clients don't love their pets. They 100% do. But when they see them every day, they might not see. It's like when somebody comes over and they see your kid after not seeing them for 6 months and they say, wow, they've grown so much. They're so tall. You might not have noticed because it was a gradual progression to get to that height, where they've noticed because they haven't seen them in 6 months. So it is important that we share our observations. And we've had a couple of successful observation shares that we've shared with clients, and they've taken their pets to the vet, and it's been like life-saving. They've been put on medicine for kidney conditions that they didn't know they had, but we mentioned, hey, they were losing weight, and then it took them to the vet. We had a sitter once who found a lump on a cat, and it was non-cancerous, but it was a tumor that had to be removed. So, and it grew rather fast. So it was important that we shared that we found that with the client so that the client can say what's normal and not normal based on what they know of their pet.
And again, those are things that, we get to do. That's an opportunity that we get to bring and provide to the client where they wouldn't have that otherwise. And being okay with that too, of going, okay, well, I don't know if I should share this or not. We talk to our staff a lot about that, of going, hey, we're going to do that. We call it our hands-on time with the pets as they are wanting and able and comfortable. Yes. We're going to, feel the pet. We're going to, touch their ears, rub their neck, go down their paws, get them used to that kind of stuff. And don't be afraid to mention the lumps, bumps, or things that you find, because you may go, well, that's stupid. I won't do that. The client surely knows about that. It's their cat anyway. I won't say anything about that. And just like you mentioned, you'd be surprised about what they're not used to.
And we can't assume that they're going to know everything that's going on with their pet.
Yeah.
And again, it's like if the pet will let us. But sometimes if it's a shy cat, the only thing that's going to indicate to us that something's up is their litter usage or their food intake. Mm-hmm. And we make sure to include that in every update we send. What's happening in the litter box, what's not happening in the litter box, and food-wise, so that the client can say, oh, yeah, sometimes it's 3 days before something happens in the litter box. Or sometimes they'll come back and say, well, that's not normal for them. And then we know it's something to be concerned about. And we know to communicate with the vet and find the right information while they're away.
Yeah.
It's really about peace of mind for the clients while they're away too. If they know that somebody is taking care of their pet and making sure that if something should happen, it's taken care of and under control, then they can enjoy their time away, which is really what we want to do. We want to make sure that the humans go away and have a good time and the pets stay home and have a good time.
Well, you mentioned the could take 3 days before stuff happens in the litter box. It's sometimes, clients, they live with their pets every day, so they don't think these things are weird. And so we may feel frustrated of like, oh, why didn't they mention that at the meet and greet? Why didn't they put that down in the form? Why did they? Well, they didn't think about it because it's just normal for their cat. Like we've hit so many of like, oh yeah, sometimes they won't eat for 4 days when we go on vacation. That happens from time to time. And you're like, okay, that helps a lot. Thank you so much. Or whatever that is, it's just going, yeah, but you don't learn that unless you communicate open about it. And it is that open communication that really helps.
We used to send updates only if the client requested them, but we've changed that in the last year. So now we send updates all the time. And we include in there the urine count and a bowel movement count in the litter box. Oh. Because again, if it's a shy cat, we don't necessarily know if they're shy because that's normal for them, or are they shy because something's happened and they're not feeling well. Because cats will go and hide. It's a natural instinct if they're not feeling well. So it's understanding the cat's behavior and communicating all that with the client. Because then clients will come back and say, oh yeah, you're not going to see them for 3 days, and then they'll come out. Then you know not to worry so long as there's action in that litter box and food's being eaten. But if all that stuff's empty and nothing's happening, then we know to be worried and try and find that cat that might be hiding. So it is, open communication needs to happen. And I highly recommend daily updates if you're not doing them for your cat clients. I would say you really should.
Zara, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing about your journey and pet care and your love of the pets, their owners, and your team as well, and how you're really working to build a business focused on that passion from the ground up. It's really cool to hear about that and all the cool stuff that you're doing. But I know there's a lot more to this, and you're doing a lot of cool things and everything. So how can people best follow along with you or get in touch with you if they have questions or want to follow up about anything?
So our website has a good blog section. So that's www.catsittertoronto.ca. And if you're in Toronto and you're looking for cat care, you can find all of our information there as well. We can also be reached at catsitter@catsittertoronto.ca. And it's really easy to find me on any social media because I'm either at CatsitterTO or at CatsitterToronto. Colin, can I do a quick shout out? I have a couple of staff members who absolutely love the podcast.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If I could just shout out to them, would that be okay?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So hi, Veronique. Hi, Rhonda. I know you guys are listening. And Heather, I know you're listening too. but now get back to work. Take care of the cats.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, Zara, I want to thank you so much again for coming on. I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's been an immense pleasure, and so thankful for it to have you on, and for all that you shared. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
How specific is your passion? In business, we get to be as specific as we want to be. The trick then is communicating that passion to our potential clients and building a team, if we want to, that shares in that. I heard it once said that it is kind to be clear. And when we niche down, we get to be kind to others because we can clearly communicate exactly who we are for and who we are not for, and what exactly our vision is. Everybody has something that they are uniquely passionate about. Make sure that you're bringing that forth in your business and letting other people know about it. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet and the Peaceful Pet Music, Calm Music for Pets YouTube channel for making today's show possible. And we really want to thank you for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.